The forgotten reason families lined up for window displays. Department stores once taught an entire generation how to imagine Christmas. One window at a time. Before commercials, before catalogs arrived at the door, families learned what Christmas should look like by standing on cold sidewalks, pressed up against glass, watching carefully arranged scenes tell them what mattered. Long before targeted ads and personalized shopping, desire was something learned together. Department store windows didn't just sell products, they instructed taste. They suggested which gifts were appropriate, which toys were desirable, and what kind of family moment counted as Christmas. A single carefully lit window could quietly answer unspoken questions. What should a good parent buy? What did a respectable home look like? What kind of joy was acceptable? And what kind was excessive? These windows weren't decoration. They were lessons, public, theatrical, and deeply influential. My mother used to tell me that a proper window visit was a lesson in how to run a home. She would point out the table setting in a display and say, "See the napkins folded like that? That's how you place them when company comes." Later, when she taught me to set our own holiday table, she'd lift a corner of a catalog page and say, "We'll do something like this," as if the window and that fold of paper were a quiet syllabus passed down across generations. In the 1930s and 40s, December evenings downtown carried a particular hush. Streetcars rattled. Breath showed in the air. Coats were buttoned tight. Families lined up along sidewalks not to buy, but to look. Children knelt on frozen pavement to peer into glowing scenes. Miniature villages, mechanical elves, trains looping endlessly through snowy landscapes. Inside the glass, everything moved with purpose. Outside, people stood still. For many families, especially during the Depression and wartime years, this was Christmas before Christmas. A promise viewed but not yet owned. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, department stores had become more than places to shop. They were civic landmarks. Retailers realized that windows, visible to everyone, even those who couldn't afford much, were powerful storytellers. Investing in lavish displays wasn't charity. It was strategy. A window didn't demand money. It planted desire early, gently, and publicly. By the 1920s and 30s, stores understood something crucial. If you taught people what Christmas should look like, they would try to live up to it. My grandfather, who worked long days, made a point of taking us downtown on the Saturday before Christmas. He never bought for himself. He wanted us to know what made a child's eyes widen. He'd stand with us and say, "A small thing done right makes the whole season," meaning that the display's thoughtful detail mattered more than the price. For him, the window was proof that the city still cared to make something beautiful, and that was the gift he wanted for his family. Behind the scenes, Christmas windows were feats of engineering. Art directors, carpenters, painters, electricians. Many trained in theater or industrial design, worked for months. Mechanical figures moved on hidden gears. Toy trains ran on custom tracks. Snow fell on timed loops. Lights were positioned to mimic dawn, dusk, or candle glow. Nothing was accidental. The pacing of movement, the height of the toys, the placement of mannequins, all carefully calibrated to guide the eye. This wasn't whimsy. It was controlled wonder. In cities like Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia, Christmas windows became destinations. Macy's, Marshall Field's, Wanamaker's. These stores turned display windows into seasonal events. Local newspapers reported on their unveiling dates. Families planned visits weeks in advance. But regional stores mattered just as much. Every city had its window, the one families remembered, the one parents promised their children they'd see after dinner or before church. These displays created consensus. No matter your income, you were shown the same Christmas ideal. By the 1940s and 50s, Hollywood and department stores began speaking the same visual language. The silhouettes worn by film stars, structured coats, cinched waists, polished shoes, quietly appeared on mannequins behind glass. Holiday films reinforced the image. Warm interiors, elegant restraint, just enough abundance to feel aspirational but not vulgar. Windows echoed that mood. They taught shoppers not just what to buy, but how much was enough. This was Christmas as good taste. The downtown trip wasn't only about children. Adults learned too. Which toys were appropriate for boys and girls? Which gifts suggested thoughtfulness rather than indulgence? What kind of home decor signaled respectability? Windows offered a shared answer to an anxious question many families carried quietly. Are we doing Christmas correctly? For women especially, these scenes reinforced expectations. How to decorate, how to host, how to present a family that looked right. By the 1960s and 70s, things shifted. Suburban malls pulled families away from city centers. Television brought Christmas imagery into living rooms. Advertising became louder, faster, more fragmented. Windows didn't disappear, but they lost authority. They no longer taught. They competed. Christmas stopped being something learned publicly and became something consumed privately. But the language of the window never vanished. It migrated into catalogs laid out on kitchen tables, into magazine spreads, into television commercials staged like miniature theatrical scenes. Even today, much of how Christmas is advertised, carefully framed moments, idealized families, controlled abundance, can be traced back to those early windows. They taught America not just what to buy, but how to imagine joy. If you're watching this today, you might remember standing outside a store window as a child in the 1980s or 90s. Or you may remember your parents describing grander displays from their own childhoods, windows that felt magical, authoritative, unforgettable. Those memories endure because they weren't private. They were shared. Christmas windows taught generations what the season should look like, and quietly, what it should mean. So I'm curious. Do you remember a store window that stayed with you? Did your family make a ritual of going downtown to see it? Or was there a moment when Christmas stopped happening behind glass and started happening somewhere else? Share your memory in the comments. These stories matter more than we realize.